Okay, so what we're going to start off with is going over the difference between an autosomal Punnett square and a sex-linked Punnett square. Autosomal genetic disorders are ones that are not found on the X and the Y chromosomes. So we haven't talked about X and Y chromosomes yet. So an autosomal trait is just the normal things that we've been learning, like homozygous dominant, heterozygous, and homozygous recessive. So albinism is a recessive autosomal genetic disorder. So you'll only see it if it's in this state. It's where the complete absence of pigments in the skin, hair, and eyes. So that's where you have really pale skin, white hair, and red eyes. Now we're going to do a practice Punnett square. So you're going to cross a homozygous recessive. So homozygous recessive, homo means same, recessive means lowercase. And heterozygous, one capital, one lowercase. So you're going to cross that, and then you go ahead and solve. Okay, and then we're just going to answer some questions. So it says, what are the genotypes of the cross? So genotypes are the potential offspring. So we have heterozygous and we have homozygous recessive. And then it asks us for the genotypic ratio. Ratio is where we use the colon. So how many are heterozygous? 1, 2. So 1 out of 2. How many are homozygous recessive? 2 out of 4. Oh, wow. Sorry. These are both 2 out of 4. Okay. What are the phenotypes? So what is it that I'll see? Well, as long as they have one capital letter, they're going to be normal. And if they have 2 lowercase letters, they'll be albino. So if they're heterozygous, they're normal. And if they're 2 lowercase letters, they'll be albino. Okay, what percent of the kids have the disorder? So what percent are in the homozygous recessive state? 1, 2, so that would be 50%. Okay, what percent of kids are carriers? So carriers is a new term. That means they're in the heterozygous state. So how many look like that? 1, 2, so 50%. Now how many of the kids are normal? As long as they have one capital letter, they're normal. So I have 1, 2, so that would be 50%. Okay, so now what we are going to talk about is the difference. This is now what we call sex-linked genetics. So sex-linked genetics takes into consideration whether an organism is a female or male. And these are the possible scenarios that you can have. Females, you have 2 X chromosomes. So you are XX, and we carry the allele as an exponent. So you have 3 possible scenarios. You can be homozygous dominant, where both letters are capital. You can be heterozygous, 1 capital letter, 1 lowercase letter. In both these states, because you possess a capital letter, you're normal. So you're normal in this state, and when you're in heterozygous, we say you're a carrier, which means you're carrying this recessive allele, but you are still normal. And then in the last state, if you have 2 lowercase letters, that means you're going to be recessive, which means you're going to have the disease or show the recessive trait. In males, your chromosomes are X and Y. The Y does not carry any kind of allele. So you'll notice that there is no letter up here, which means that there's no allele for your Ys, only for your X's. So in this case, males, you can be homozygous dominant and be normal, or you can be homozygous recessive and be diseased or carry the recessive allele. Notice you do not have an intermediate. So you don't have anything in between. So with males, unfortunately, you're either going to be normal or you're going to have the disease. You don't have what females have, where they can be carriers and still be normal, because you, again, only have 1 X. So knowing that information, you're going to solve this problem. It says, red-green color blindness is a recessive sex-linked X chromosome genetic disorder where the middle green or long red-yellow wavelength cones in the eye have partial or complete loss of function. So we're going to cross a normal male. Males, we tend to write on the top. So if I look at my chart, a normal male has a capital A. So that'll be a capital letter. And I'm going to cross it with a female who's a carrier. So again, a carrier has a capital and a lowercase. So for the female on this side, 1 letter will be a capital and the other letter will be a lowercase because they are a carrier, heterozygous. Now as you solve this, it's going to be X capital A, X capital A. And when you're making the male, it's going to be X first. Okay, then you do the same, and here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and just slide this up a little bit. Okay, now at the bottom of this page it asks us to write what percent of the children are normal. So I'm taking into consideration all 4 children. So as long as it has a capital letter and it's female, it's normal. So this one's normal. Male has a capital letter, it's normal. Here, as long as it has a capital letter, it's normal, so she's a normal carrier. And this one, because he is recessive and he doesn't have another letter, he's automatically going to be colorblind. So what percent of the children are normal? 75%. What percent of the children are colorblind? 1, so 25%. Now notice here it does say in the next question, what percent of females are colorblind? Females are just these 2 individuals. So I'm looking for 2 lowercase letters, or 2 lowercase alleles on the X. That one's not and that one's not. So this would be 0%. Now on the male side, which is this side over here because they are XY, I'm looking for a lowercase a. So I'm looking for this. That one's not, but this one is. Now, we usually count each box as 25, but since there's only 2, 1, 2, 2 halves make up a whole, so each box is now 50%. So this would be 50% of the boys are going to be colorblind. So that's kind of the information that you'll use for the rest of this packet. If you go to the next page, it's talking about fruit flies. Now fruit flies, interesting is that their eye color is on their X chromosome. And red is a dominant color to white. So what you'll do now is you're going to identify the gender. So tell me if it's male or female. And then you're going to tell me what eye color will it have. Will it be red or white? So XX is a female. And it's a capital R, lowercase r. As long as it has 1 capital R, it's going to show the dominant trait, which would be red. And XY is a male. He has a capital R, which would mean he has red eyes. 2 X's would be a female. And 2 lowercase letters is in white, showing the recessive. 2 X's would be a female. 2 capital R's would be red. And XY would be male. And his has a lowercase r, so he would have white eyes. Okay, now from here you're going to tell me the genotype. So you're going to tell me are they XX or XY, and then you're going to give me their alleles up top. Okay, so a white-eyed male, he's XY, and his allele is white, so he is a lowercase r. Red-eyed female, she's XX, and she's in a heterozygous state, so she's a capital and a lowercase. White-eyed female, she's XX, and she is both lowercase r's. And a red-eyed male, he's red, so he's a capital R. So then what you do is you're going to cross a white-eyed female. So white-eyed female, if I look up here, white-eyed female, female white, it tells me what her alleles are. So she's lowercase r's. And remember, the females go on the side. And you're going to cross it with a red-eyed male. So red-eyed male is here, so he should have a capital R. So then I solve. Okay, and then I read my questions accordingly. So we'll do the male questions first, and then we'll switch over to the females. Okay, so white-eyed female, red-eyed, or males. So males again are on this side. So it's asking me how many or what's the probability of having a white-eyed male. So in order to be white-eyed, I have to have 1 lowercase r. So both of those are. So this would be 2 out of 2, or 100%. Okay, if I go to red-eyed, I would have to have a capital R, and I don't have any. So this would be 0%. Now for females, I'm going to focus on this side. Okay, so I'm looking for white-eyed females. So they have to be both lowercase. In this case, 0 out of 2, so 0%. How many red-eyed females? So I have to have at least 1 capital letter. And in this case, 2 out of 2, so 100%. So this will kind of get you started as to how to solve it, and that's sex-linked genetics.